Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to jump into the incredible and, let's be honest, sometimes really complicated world of technology and healthcare. Seriously, from the second a patient walks in the door to how they're cared for at home, tech is changing just about everything.
And right at the center of it all, it's the healthcare providers, especially the nurses. You know, this one sentence really just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just about fancy new gadgets and software. It's a massive fundamental shift in how real people deliver care, day in and day out.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the good stuff, the bright side of it all. We're talking about the utopian promise of a totally digital, data-driven way of practicing medicine.
And leading the charge here are electronic health records, or EHRs. The best way to think of them is like a digital guardian angel for every single patient. I mean, just think about it for a second. The system can automatically throw up a red flag if a new prescription could cause a bad reaction with another drug or an allergy. It can spot tiny changes in vital signs that might mean a patient is starting to decline, way before a human might notice. This is so much more than convenience. It's about weaving a powerful safety net right into the core of how we do patient care.
And all this data, well, it does way more than just keep patients safe. The real promise here is that it can make healthcare smarter, more precise, and a whole lot more effective.
And this right here is where that promise really starts to become a reality. Just imagine being a doctor and having a patient's entire medical life, every lab test, every x-ray, every note, right there at your fingertips, instantly. The systems even have these things called clinical decision support systems, or CDSS, which are kind of like a smart co-pilot. They offer up suggestions based on the latest medical research right when a decision is being made. The whole goal is to give clinicians this complete, high-definition picture of a patient, which leads to better diagnoses and way more coordinated care. It's a game changer. I mean, it all sounds amazing, right? Like a true medical utopia. But, like with any powerful tool, there's always another side to the coin. And that brings us to a really important question.
So, welcome to the shadow side of this whole data revolution. The very real, very serious danger of just too much information. So here's the problem. When does a helpful tool cross the line and become a harmful distraction? Well, alert fatigue is a huge one. If a nurse gets hundreds of beeps and pop-ups all day long, their brain just starts to tune them out, and that's how a truly critical warning gets missed. And when a doctor is basically drowning in data, it's so easy for one key detail to get totally lost in all that noise. But maybe the biggest issue is this. When doctors and nurses are glued to a screen, it takes them away from the most important thing, that real human connection with their patient.
And this is exactly why that human element is still so absolutely critical. We can't just rely on the tech. This is a perfect example. Even in the most advanced digital system, it's often the nurse who acts as that final critical checkpoint. They're not just mindlessly clicking buttons. No, they're actively checking orders, hunting for potential errors, confirming everything is right, and picking up the phone to talk to the doctor if something just doesn't feel right. They are, in a very real way, the essential human firewall.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit. We've been talking about what happens inside the hospital. Now let's look at the next great frontier, technology that brings healthcare right into our own homes. The one we're all probably most familiar with is telehealth, right? These real-time virtual consultations. And it's way more than just a video call. This is about bringing a full-on appointment with your provider directly to you, wherever you are. It totally removes those old barriers like taking a day off work or traveling for hours.
But telehealth goes even deeper. There's something called remote patient monitoring, or RPM. This is where you use devices at home, like a smart blood pressure cuff or a glucose monitor, that send a steady stream of your health data directly to your clinical team. It lets them manage chronic conditions proactively, from miles away.
And of course, there's Mogul Health, or mHealth. We're talking about all those apps on our phones that let us take control of our own care. You can book appointments, get reminders to take your meds, even track your symptoms for your doctor. It's healthcare in your pocket. So when you put all these tools together, what you get is a massive leap forward in making healthcare accessible. For someone living in a rural town, miles from the nearest specialist, or for a person who has trouble getting around, this isn't just a nice to have, it's a total lifeline. It just shatters so many of the traditional walls that have kept people from getting good, consistent care. But, and you probably saw this coming, just like with the electronic health records we talked about, the incredible promise of telehealth runs up against its own set of very real, very tough challenges.
And here's that reality check. The digital divide is a big one.
You can't have a video appointment if you don't have good internet, or if you're just not comfortable with the technology. Then you've got totally legitimate worries about the privacy of our health data online. And on top of all that, there's this complicated web of regulations that can change depending on where you live. So yeah, making this work for everyone is still very much a work in progress.
And man, that world of regulations is incredibly complex. This slide just lays out the tension perfectly. On the left, you've got a goal that's always good, like protecting patient privacy under HIPAA, which is the main US law that keeps your medical info safe. But for the hospitals and clinics on the right, the reality is a huge challenge. It means more paperwork, more risks of data breaches, more costs. It's this constant, tricky balancing act.
You know, this quote really just nails the central problem of this whole thing. It gets right to the heart of the conflict. The tools are fantastic, they're there to help, but they can never, ever replace the clinical judgment, the gut feeling, and the big picture view that a great provider brings to the table. That ability to see the whole person, not just a bunch of data points on a screen.
So, at the end of the day, we're left with this one final, essential question. As our technology gets smarter and smarter, giving us these unbelievable new powers, how do we make sure we never, ever lose sight of the human being at the heart of it all?